Hi, welcome to this session. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to start this activity, which is an effort from Ingram and UiPath for all the partners. We are going to describe the opportunities and the use cases for automation in the manufacturing industry. We are going to discuss actually not only those opportunities in the industry, but also we are going to share with you how you can leverage the Ingram Macro's hyperautomation team and how you can add all those services into your process so you can achieve success on your opportunities with your customers around automation. And we're also going to share with you some strategies around the demand generation workflow that you could run in order to build your campaign, your demand generation strategy with your customers, working with online events, email marketing campaigns, call campaigns, a number of activities that you can build around your demand generation strategy with UiPath. If you have any questions or comments during the presentation, please feel free to share those through the chat window or the Q&A panel. So let's begin with this conversation, right? So as I mentioned, you guys, we are going to discuss all the opportunities for automation around the manufacturing industry. Of course, we have use cases for other industries as well. We have other sessions where we share those, around finance, insurance, healthcare. But for today, we're going to discuss the manufacturing environment, right? And how we can enable the automation and all the capabilities around automation that UiPath brings to the table for our customers in terms of driving productivity, revenue growth, to enhance their employee and customer experience, and making sure that they are in compliance with their with the different organizations in compliance in terms of sustainability, for example, risk management, security. So we have these numbers here. This is statistics around how can our customers in this manufacturing industry can achieve some savings. Like, for example, we have here 65% of manufacturing enterprises will save up to 10% of operating expenses through advanced production technologies by 2030. But actually, in some of the success stories that we are going to share with you in this presentation, further in the presentation, we're going to see that some of our customers have achieved, important savings in, of course, the budget, but also time savings. They have increased the productivity. They have increased their overall customer and employee satisfaction. We are also considering the adoption in digital automation as a trend in the market. They want to enhance their customer experience. As we already mentioned, they are also looking to reduce the operational expenses, increase the productivity, and we have seen this 89% of customers that are willing to adopt or to redefine their strategy around automation in terms of customer experiences. And 75% of marketing staff shall move to more strategic activities due to AI and automation. And actually, when we discuss manufacturing, we're not only referring, to the opportunities that are in the production itself, but we can also find opportunities in other areas in the business, right? In other lines of businesses for different user groups inside the organization. Perhaps if we look into the strategic processes for our customers, like procurement, like supply chain, like customer service, post-sale service, for example, everything has a potential for adopting the automation capabilities that we can bring to the table through UiPath. So the idea is how we can automate, for example, research and development operations, right? How can we integrate our products and service our customers in a seamless manner, in a way that's smoothly for their different user teams? How can we streamline the supply chain and the different operations and the different processes that are part of that supply chain, from the procurement to all the logistics and delivering the services or the products? How can we engage more deeply with our customers? As I was mentioning, you guys, not only in the in the actual manufacturing process, but in other strategic areas of their business, understanding, how those different areas enable the business outcomes that they are looking for, and how can we enable the automation for areas like, for example, marketing, HR, sales, the IT teams themselves, so everyone can have access to all the different benefits that the automation brings to the table. Now, speaking about the manufacturing process, specifically, we can enable these capabilities in, both environments, what we know as discrete manufacturing, anywhere where we have these repetitive tasks in order to reduce, errors, where we have these processes or tasks that are prone to human error, and how we can enable the automation and we can optimize those processes, but also in process industries, like, manufacturing in itself, those customers that are looking to enhance the efficiency, to reduce the costs, to improve the accuracy throughout all the manufacturing process. So whether discrete or process manufacturing, the AI-powered automation drives business value for manufacturing customers in productivity, in, around the customer experience. It enables revenue growth. It enables also their compliance strategy, the sustainability, regulations that most of our customers right now are facing, not only in the manufacturing industry, but in different industries around the globe. So starting with identifying the top automation areas, here we're just going to number these examples, not that these are the only one, the only areas that we can enable through automation, but some ideas of where you can start looking in your customer's business, right, in your customer's organization. So, for example, purchasing, the invoice processing, how we can automate all that process, from onboarding new providers, new vendors. How can we keep, all the monitoring regarding the inventory, and when it's time to, process, for example, a new inventory. And as in any process, we can have exceptions as well, right? And how we can manage exceptions, or how our customers can manage those exceptions, all the way to the billing process, how we can increase the performance in the good receipts, in considering that what we've received is according to the purchase order. How are we going to make sure that those elements are going to be available for the team in the manufacturing line? How are we going to follow the critical parts in the inventory, and how we can make sure that those elements are always available for the manufacturing process inside the organization? In the production or maintenance areas, right? All the visibility throughout the different processes, and have access to real-time reporting, all the analytics, and how we can match that information with what's actually happening in the ground, right? When we can have all this information regarding some preventive actions that we should perform in terms of maintenance, updates, in terms of quality control. How are we going to follow those different incidents that may arise, and how are we going to report those incidents and make sure that those don't happen again? And then there comes the after sales and services, right? The post sales services or processes, like, for example, all the tasks and the processes around our service desk or customer care areas. How are we going to follow up for claims and warranties, for example, or new service order processing and tracking? Now, this has to do with processes, not only, as I previously mentioned, not only for the manufacturing industry, but, in many industries, we have this procurement, supply chain, customer care, and of course, marketing areas or marketing process that enable different use cases that are relevant for the automation opportunities, right? For example, here in marketing and sales, from the data entry of a purchase order, the validation of that order, making sure that we have the payment in process, or we already received the payment from the customer, how we can generate quotes, for example, faster and easier for the customers and for our sales teams. How can we process the different payments? How we can keep all the tax information updated? How can we keep also the customer information updated? How can we keep track of the information of our different customers and their different orders, for example, or maybe services, follow-up services, or post-sale services? And then I mentioned the compliance and sustainability as something that, it's more, it's adding more pressure to some of the industries, worldwide, right? We have more legislations around sustainability. And of course, most of our customers are now, pursuing all those different, improvements in terms of sustainability in order to be in compliance with those new regulations. So, for example, we need to start enabling all the visibility. What's happening in terms of how much energy are we consuming right now, our emissions, our waste, and what are we going to do with that information, right? Maybe we can integrate that with a third-party source. We can automate all the monitoring and alerting for, the terms of emissions or the waste or the energy consumption or things like that. And we can start, comparing the information that we have from our industry with other industries in the same region, and start building, new strategies to improve those benchmarks, and again, to stay in compliance with the different regulations. Now, the idea is that once you identify all those different processes, critical processes, and the use cases in your customer's organization, you can start building this heat map, right? Where we have the services and the use cases. And for the different use cases, we are going to find different tasks that are going to be, that are going to have this high automation potential. Some tasks are going to have a medium automation potential and the low automation potential finally. So the idea is that you can start working, with your customers around all those different tasks that have this high automation potential and that are, easier to start the automation process with, right? Or, are going to be the less complex tasks, to enable through automation. The idea here is to be able to deliver the value to your customers as fast as possible, right? Those quick wins, as we say, right, around the automation. So your customers start realizing the value, start realizing the cost savings, the productivity improvement, their customer or employee satisfaction improvement, for example, the hours that we are going to save from their teams per day, per week, per month. So they are going to be, willing to continue this automation roadmap on the organization, perhaps for the same process, but for a different task, or moving to other processes, other strategic processes in the organization in order to enable the automation as well, right? All the automation capabilities as well. So this is just an idea, some of the processes and the tasks that you can start, exploring with your customers in the manufacturing industry and finding those potential opportunities, right? High potential, medium potential. Now, here we have a number of success stories that I'm going to share with you in the next 4 slides, and we're going to discuss the challenge, the solution, and the results that these different customers achieve through UiPath automation. So first one, this this scenario that has to do with shipping processes, right? So the shipping process for this organization, for these customers, required significant manual data entry. So they decided to deploy a robot that automated the, that formerly manual data entry that their vendor invoices required, and they find that the problems didn't originate from the process itself, but from how they formatted their invoices. How their invoices, were formatted, and the way that they presented the information was the thing that complicated the whole process. So once they, resolved that challenge, and once again, along with the robot, they achieve some significant results like 100% data capturing and data entry accuracy, 76 shipments processed by the robot in just 3 hours, and up to 3 to 4 hours of manual work saved per shipment. So these were relevant improvements for this customer. Now, another scenario is, this customer had a volume of more than 800,000 invoices. So the scale of the process meant that these invoices, varied in language, in format, different information. So once we enable the UiPath Enterprise Automation Platform, nearly half of the invoice processing is now entirely automatic. So they have 50% of invoice processing in the pilot region is now automated, because this customer began with this pilot scenario, and then 2,500 invoices processed per month, and 40,000 printouts saved per month. So this is also a relevant improvement for this scenario. Another example, this has to do with accuracy. So the sales order creation for this customer involved an entire team, an entire staff of, people compiling sales orders, extracting the data to multiple Excel sheets, and then aggregating them into SAP, right? So the company decided to implement the automation robots to undertake all the steps in the process. So they save 250 man days per year. They now have the capability to execute process 5 times a day, okay, with, as opposite of, the manualing process that just allow them to perform the process twice a day, and 100% accuracy in process handling. And of course, this increased their employee satisfaction, because now all this, people, this staff, has no longer to spend time, on those repetitive tasks, manual labor that doesn't add value to the process, and they can spend that time on more strategic activities or processes inside the organization, inside their department, right? And this final example here also has to do with accuracy. So in this case is around the PO creation. For this customer, the PO creation is a very critical process, and if the PO doesn't go out on time, this means that the goods delivery is also going to be delayed, right? And this also messes up with the customer experience, with the satisfaction surveys, with the satisfaction rates. So the UiPath robot helped deliver around 2,500 labor days of saving while achieving on-time delivery and highest accuracy for the process. Now, these are, again, some of the examples, some of the success stories that we have around the globe for our manufacturing customers. But another information that is very relevant for you to know, and of course for us in Ingram Micro is very important to make sure that you are aware of this, is the Hyperautomation professional services. We bring additional value to all our customers through this organization inside Ingram Micro. And the idea is that you find in Ingram Micro the team, the experts that you need to be part of your process, from identifying the opportunities with your customers, potential customers for automation, and identify those opportunities, identify, the processes that are relevant for your customers in order to enable the automation, and, also have additional services to bring to the table for your customers or for your teams, right? So, for example, example, reduce training costs. You don't need to have, experts in your staff or as part of your team in order to be able to deliver these capabilities to your customers or these solutions to your customers. So you don't need to have, additional operational expenses in terms of training costs or additional staff members, or even if you don't have right now a hyperautomation practice, you can start your practice, your journey, and build your expertise along with the Ingram micro team, right? So why you should partner with the hyperautomation professional services inside Ingram Micro. Again, you have access to a defined practice, a framework that's already in place. I'm going to share, in an upcoming slide, some of the services that you can offer to your customers and that the Ingram Micro team is going to be responsible to deliver those services. You can have access to the SKUs and also to customize SKUs and an end-to-end delivery model for, a range of services that are part of the Ingram Micro offering to add value to your customers. So you can enable your automation strategy as an as-a-service offering with our HPS team, and you can offer additional value to your customers, access to technology, to subject matter experts, and a number of services with cost savings for your customers and with increased margins for your organization. So you can start your journey with automation through the HPS team with Ingram Micro and be more strategic in this market, thanks to all the experience that the team is going to be sharing with you and your team as well, right? So here are some of the services that we can offer through the HPS team. So from the discovery, for example, if you're not sure, all the number of processes or tasks that are prone to automation inside your customer's organization, we can start that process with the discovery service, right? We can discover and identify key business objectives for your customers and find, the solution to meet those goals, those objectives. Of course, the development, the maintenance, all the management, the training, everything that your customers and you are going to need throughout their automation journey. And enabling different capabilities, we have this, flexible service management. We have fast pack services, proof of concepts. You can find, the specific solutions or services according to your needs or the opportunity that you have with your customers. Now, in terms of the management, as I already mentioned, we are going to be there with, along the whole journey, from the enablement, from the implementation, all the monitoring. We can build a joint offering that's, specific for you and your customers, or the different segments or customers verticals that you are working with or interested on develop around the automation journey. Okay, so here we have the examples that I mentioned previously around these pre-built packages offerings that can cover everything from the setup to the deployment to the monitoring to the maintenance, everything along the automation journey and the life cycle for these automation solutions, right? So we can bring additional value to the table for you and your UiPath opportunities. We can build a specific strategy around your business. Your business strategy as well, and we can start working with workshops. We can have different analysis with you and the team. We can enabling all the abilities that you need to manage different stakeholders among your customers organization, right? How can you connect with those different stakeholders and start building a pipeline and start building use cases that are going to be relevant for those different lines of business and the different decision makers for the different lines of businesses as well. So I'm going to be sharing with you this link in the chat window, and you can also scan the QR code, and here you can find additional information around the hyperautomation services that Ingram Micro enables for you and your business. And now for this next part of the session, we're going to share with you some ideas and some best practices around your demand generation strategy, right? So once you found the use cases that are going to be relevant for your customers, how can you start generating demand around those use cases for perhaps a particular industry? In this case, we have the example of manufacturing, but any other industry that you have among your customers as well. So we have some recommendations that you should consider before the events, in case that you decide to organize this online event. So before the event, during the event, and after the event. And we're also going to be building around an email marketing strategy or a phone strategy, and how this becomes part of the same at the end of the day, right? Of the same demand generation strategy at the end of the day. So starting with those online events, I was mentioning you about once you have identified the relevant use cases, the different processes that you want to develop with your customers or around the automation opportunity, right? So you can choose a topic within UiPath that's going to be of interest to your audience, right? Once again, you can decide to focus your strategy in a very specific industry and choose, for example, a process that is going to be very relevant for customers of that industry, or you can go for something that is more global, let's say, for different industries, like perhaps, processes that have to do with accounting or with marketing or with sales, processes that are, relevant for almost any industry, right? Or basically any organization, any business out there has these areas and these processes as part of their everyday operation. So choose a topic that's going to be relevant for your audience, and that's going to allow you to have a significant number of participants or attendees at your sessions, at your online events, right? Then once you choose that topic, we recommend you to invite your customers or your potential customers 10 days prior to the session, right? 10 days it's a very, a good time frame. It's, you give them sufficient time to save the date on their agendas. It's very important to include that save the date as part of the invitation, right? They can add the event to their calendars. That way they're going to actually save that space in their agenda. You can also send reminders maybe a couple of days before, an hour before the session, so you make sure that they don't miss your activity. And invite with registration forms. That way you are going to be able to know who to expect, right? Not only how many attendees, but who's exactly interested to attend your event. Now, avoid rescheduling the session, because it's going to cause confusion on your audience, on your potential customers. Perhaps the new date is not going to fit their agenda, so you are going to lose part of your audience. So always have a plan B. For example, especially for the speaker, right, which is the next bullet. Select the speaker carefully. So if you are going to focus your conversation in a more business conversation, business outcome oriented, try to choose the speaker that's that's going to be very clear in that matter, that's going to use a language that is going to be easy for your audience to understand. And on the other hand, if you decide to go for a more technical conversation, perhaps a demo or a thing like that, that's that's a good option too. But again, consider which type of audience you are inviting to this event, right? To your seminar. Because if you are inviting a non-technical audience and you start discussing technical topics or technical processes, you're going to lose their attention, right? So you must choose your speaker carefully, according to the topic that you want to develop during that presentation. And I was mentioning you about a plan B, right? Have a plan B in case, that speaker is not available or something arises the day of the event. That way you don't have to reschedule that activity. And use materials that are very appealing to your audience, right? Of course, use that co-branding with UiPaths and your business company logo, of course, that be very clearly recognizable on all the materials that you are going to be sharing during your presentation, right? During the session, um, make sure that some slides or a few slides before the end of the session, share a survey with your audience, right? Share surveys or polls with your audience in order to sense, the feeling in the room, the vibe in the room, but also, ask them about other topics or other, I don't know, if you are moving the conversation around the business outcomes, the business value around automation with UiPath, other topics or any other processes that they would like to see in upcoming events. So you're gonna have, the material for those events to keep flowing, right? So you're gonna be able to deliver those workshops with your customers, with your different audience in a regular basis, and according to what they are actually telling you that they are interested to know about or to learn more about, right? So not only a satisfaction survey in order to receive the feedback, but also ask them, what else they would like to see in your events, right? If you are going to be sharing any additional material, for example, any reference links, copy those links into the chat panel, or the chat tool that you have as part of your event platform, so that way they don't have to copy those, or they're going to lose that information perhaps. Also try to have one member of your team as a moderator for the session, right? So basically anyone who's able to assist the participants, in case of some technical problems, right? They aren't connected to the audio conference, or they're not able to see the presentation, or whatever, any technical issue, that the moderator is going to be able to assist, and that way you're not going to distract your speaker from the presentation, from the actual presentation, just to try to help your attendees. And also, it's another role for the moderator is reading the questions or even answer the questions that may arise during the presentation through the Q&A panel or through the chat window. So that allows you to that allows the speaker to focus on the actual lecture and the actual presentation, and you still have someone else to support or to assist your participants. And record your sessions. Now, ideally, you should share that recording with your audience, right? Like with all the participants who attend your event, you can share that recording with them, and with the ones that weren't able to attend the session as well, right? Now, you need to consider this. Sometimes, if you're going to be planning to run a number of workshops with your customers on a regular basis, perhaps, I don't know, once a month, once per quarter, anything that you decide, just consider that if you start sharing the recordings with the participants that didn't attend the session, they're going to start thinking, oh, well, I know that if I don't attend the live session, either way, I'm going to receive the recording. So you're going to be, messing with your numbers, with your attendee rates. So that's something that will leave to your discretion, right? That's up to you if you want to share the recording even with the customers or the members that didn't attend the live session. I know perhaps in the first event, the second event, but you need to start looking at the trends, right? If it's something that is ruining your attendance rate, perhaps you want to consider sharing those recordings or not with your customers. And then after the event, we already mentioned that part of sharing the recording, send a thank you email to those who came, and also, this message around with the message, oh, sorry, we miss you, for those who weren't able to attend the session, that registered to the session but weren't able to attend. And remember that survey that I mentioned earlier? Call your potential customers. especially those who said that they were interested in the solutions, that they like what they saw during the presentation or during the session, that they are interested in receiving more information. Call your potential customers the very next day after the event, right after the session, and you can develop a script for the calls. That way you make sure that you always ask them the same questions, because perhaps you're going to have your account team calling the different customers or the different contacts in that list. So that way, you can make sure that all the account team, all the account managers or the marketing team or whoever is going to call the customers are documenting the same information, are asking the same questions to those potential customers, right? So that's very important in order to document your data and analyze that data after those calls. And we have a number of tools that you can use for your events, for the delivery of the event, for your surveys, for your presentations, for your content. So you can work with any of the tools that are mentioned here, or I'm sure there are other options as well out there. So the tool, it's any tool or set of tools that you feel comfortable working with. But the idea is that we are going to share with you, the more important element here is that as part of this program, we are going to share with you a demand generation kit. Okay, so for the contents for your email marketing strategy, for example, you are going to receive some templates, and you're going to receive additional information that you can share with your customers, or you can even use for this demand generation strategy, or for your webinars. Everything that you need around that demand generation strategy, we are going to be sharing with you different elements on this demand generation kit, right? Different assets on this demand generation kit. So for example, the email marketing campaign. So you can build this email marketing as part of your online events, for example, that invitation, the follow-up, but you can also build an email marketing strategy, that's going to be very specific for some customers, for your contacts, or very specific around a topic, right? So you're going to define the theme of the campaign. You are going to define the graphic image of the campaign. Also, this co-branding with UiPath, with your company logo, so that the customers easily identify or recognize that those messages are coming from you and from your organization, right? Talk about use cases that are relevant for your customers. Again, if you are going to focus that demand generation strategy on one specific industry or for a specific use case, follow that line. If you want to make it, more universal for all your customers, again, try to focus on use cases that are going to be relevant for most of the line of businesses that are part of any industry, of any segment, right? And always use automation tools, of course, for that email campaign. Don't try to send those emails, manually from the different from the different mailing box of your different account managers, for example, or your marketing teams, because the idea is that you can keep track and you have access to all the statistics. How many emails were sent, how many emails were sent out, how many emails were open, how many emails were bounce, how many of our customers unsubscribe from our list. So you are going to have all that data that's going to enable you to improve your strategy around this email campaign, right? And once again, use materials that are very visually attractive to your customers and that allow them to identify your organization, your brand, and UiPath's brand as well, right? And complement your email marketing strategy with phone calls, right? Again, all the customers that perhaps not only open the email, but click on the link or submitted the landing page that you included as part of this campaign, call those customers, right? And this takes us to the next strategy, that's an outcall campaign strategy, right? Again, as part of the same effort, the same strategy, or maybe a very focused strategy around outcall campaigns, right? So always have a script. A good idea for the script is, share this situation with your customer. all the idea and challenges around that situation, the solution that enables different benefits, or perhaps you are sharing a specific promotion, for example. And once you share the message with the customer, evaluate their interest. And if they are really interested on what you just share with them, if they have a similar initiative in their organization, or if they have the budget, if they are the decision maker. Okay, now you have two options in order to complete this effort. You can work with your internal staff, for that calling process, or you can work with a call center. Now, the thing is that if you're going to work with your internal resources, consider that the average number of calls that you need to do in order to achieve what we call a successful call, where we are able to deliver the message to the customer and we are not redirected to the voicemail, is 5 calls per contact. So if you have a contact list of 100 contacts, you're going to be doing at least 500 calls. And that's going to require a lot of time from your staff, right? So the idea of a call center is not a bad idea, actually. And, call centers have this very accessible prices and packages that you can, work with and still have, the idea is that you are going to share with them the script, and you're going to still have the opportunity to gather all that relevant information from your customers, right? And then finally, you can also include some social media posts as part of your campaign. Now, in social media platforms, of course, the ideal environment is LinkedIn, right? Because you can be very specific with the profile of the type of audience that you are trying to reach, right? The industry, the role, the market segment perhaps. And the very important thing here is that you share something that adds value to those roles or to that targeted audience, right? For example, a white paper, an industry study with information that is going to be relevant again for their role and their industry. So they are going to be willing to click on the link and share their information with you, share their contact information. And you can also ask what we call banned questions, right? If they have the budget, if they have the authority, if they are the ones that make that decision, if there's actually right now a need in their organization for this type of solutions, and the timeline when they are considering to implement these solutions in their organization. So according to the answers here, you can understand if that particular contact is a real opportunity, or a short-term opportunity, or maybe it's a contact that you can save for the next quarter or perhaps for the next year. But the idea here, once again, is that you need to share something that's value for them, right? Some downloadable asset, like for example, a white paper, right? Something that is very relevant and very appealing to them in order to share this information with you. And you can create your campaign looking something like this. Involving all the different resources and the different materials. For example, let's say you are going to include the email marketing campaign, the webinar. So you can start, you can start the engines with the email campaign a couple of weeks or 3 weeks prior to the invitation to the webinar, right? So you can start this email campaign around a specific use case for their industry. For example, today we discuss manufacturing. So a relevant use case or a number of use cases that are going to be relevant for your manufacturing customers, perhaps sharing the success stories as well. And then on the week 4, you are going to send them the invitation to your webinar or to your workshop, right? To your online event. And of course, you're going to share all the details, the theme for the event, the highlights of the agenda, perhaps, right? To build that interest around your event. One day before the event, you're going to send that reminder. course, always consider, to add the calendar invitation so they can download that calendar invitation and add them to their agenda, and then finally deliver or run your event. And on the last week, you are going to perform all the follow-up past event, right? The emails, the calling, everything that we just mentioned. So the idea is that your campaign is going to look something like this. Now remember that as part of this program with Ingram Micro, we are going to share with you a demand generation marketing toolkit with a number of assets that you can include in your campaign, in your demand generation strategy. We have assets built around different industries. As I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, today we discussed manufacturing, or we presented some examples around the manufacturing industry, but we have also, some assets for healthcare, for finance, for insurance, for example. So you're going to have access to a number of assets that you can use to build your demand generation strategy or to complement your demand generation strategy for all the automation solutions for UiPath. Now, I want to share with you finally this survey. So please take a moment to complete the survey and share with us, how you're doing around your opportunities with UiPath, right? If you have a potential customer, if you have an opportunity, or you need more information or additional information and assistance from the Ingram Micro team, please share with us your information so a local representative can reach out your company, your team, and start building, the strategy, or sharing with you all the relevant information, in order to increase your opportunities with UiPath, or to help you close a deal, a potential deal that you have with a customer, or anything that you need, enablement, additional resources around the UiPath offering through Ingram Micro, right? And don't forget to visit the Hyperautomation Services website that I also share with you. I'm going to copy that link once again in the chat window so you can find, all the information, all the details around the services and the capabilities that the Hyperautomation Professional Services brings to the table, right? All these additional capabilities that Ingram Micro enables for you and your business. So here we have the link for the Hyperautomation Services. And once again, I'm going to share the link of the survey on the chat window for you. Okay, so don't forget to answer that survey. I'm going to be here a couple of minutes in case that you have any questions or comments. I don't have anything on the Q&A panel nor in the chat window, but in case that you have any additional comments or questions, feel free to share those with me. I'm going to be around a couple of minutes more here. So having said that, thanks for joining us today. And I hope to see you on upcoming events for UiPath and Ingram Micro. Have a good one.